I still remember that night very clearly. One rainy night, it was as if Nairobi's sky also had something to say. Everything started with an urgent call. A pregnant woman in a faraway village couldn't wait any longer. In that place, there was no hospital, no doctor, only the fragile hope that rested on my car and my hands. I'm used to unexpected emergencies, but that night, something was different. When I walked out of the hospital door, I had the feeling that I would never return the same. I looked up at the sky. The clouds rolled in like a mysterious whisper, but I let it go. I just thought, it's just one birth. I've handled hundreds of cases that are even more difficult. I jumped in the car. The driver was Muriithi, the person who has been driving me for the past 3 years. We talked along the way about family matters, about the chapati dish his wife had just learned to cook. I still remember smiling. I felt lighthearted. But there is something in my chest, like an invisible string that is slowly tightening, not fear. It's a nostalgia, but I don't know what I remember. We left the city through winding red dirt roads. The rain began to fall heavily. The trees on both sides of the road swayed. The wind howled through the ravine as if the voice of some old soul was calling my name. Then it happened. A gazelle suddenly crossed the road. Muriithi drove instinctively. The car slid, hit a large tree, and then overturned down the hillside. I had no time to feel anything but the sound of glass breaking and white light flooding into my eyes. Everything disappeared. I didn't know I was dead, at least physically, until I saw myself. Not in the mirror, but seeing my own body lying there, blood spread on the ground, my face motionless, eyes closed. Everything seemed to slow down. It was suffocatingly silent. I'm flying or drift? No more heavy feeling, no more pain. There was just a strange feeling. I was being freed from a shell that was too tight. I don't know if you believe in the soul leaving the body or not. Before, I was also skeptical. But I swear to you, that feeling is more real than anything I have ever lived through. I could see the faces of the rescuers rushing towards me. Some people burst into tears, someone shouted my name, but I just stood there, or rather floated, and looked at them, like an uninvited guest observing his own funeral. Then something inexplicable happened. A portal of light opened in the distance. No calling. There are no angels playing the piano. There is only warmth. It was as if I was returning to a place I once knew and was a part of. That light is not dazzling, but gentle like a mother's arms. And I, without hesitation, entered. Have you ever felt like you missed a place, a memory, even though you've never been there before? That place is both strange and familiar. I don't know how long, a moment, or a lifetime. I just know that time is no longer a meaningful concept here. There, I began to remember things I thought I never knew. I am not alone. There were women standing around me. They didn't speak, but I understood. They wear ancient ceremonial costumes with patterns painted in mud, blood, and light. They were like no one I had ever met, but I knew them. They are my ancestors, mothers, sisters, keepers of the fire for an entire bloodline. I felt my heart vibrate like a string that had just been plucked at the right chord. I burst into tears, not because of fear, but because of the feeling of seeing myself, truly. You see, sometimes life pushes us to the end, not to end, but to begin. I used to think I knew my mission, to heal people's bodies, to save their lives. But there, in the invisible void, I understood that there was another pain that had not yet been healed, and I was chosen to do it. When the doctors declared me clinically dead for nearly 8 minutes, they did not know that during those 8 minutes, I lived another life. A life where light does not come from surgical lights, but from hands that once held human souls, once sang life into the world. I'll tell you more about what I saw there, about what he told me, and why I can't go back to being a normal doctor anymore. But if you're reading this, I just hope you remember one thing. Sometimes, the moments that seem to end are the universe's way of waking us up, reminding us that we still have a light that hasn't been given yet. Have you ever listened to the light within you? I know this sounds strange, but the moment my soul left my body, I found everything became simpler than ever. No more anxiety, no more fear, no more feeling like I have to strive to become a good doctor, an exemplary son, or any other title that life has attached to me. I am just me, naked, light, and truly awake. I floated above, looking down at my body lying motionless. Blood splattered from his head, from his shoulders, from his feet as he hurried to save others. That scene should have made me panic, but instead I felt peaceful, like when you dip yourself into warm water after a long, tiring day. A profound feeling of liberation that I have probably never truly touched in my entire life. I saw the rescue team running. I heard them calling my name, seeing them try everything to get me back. But what made me cry was seeing Muriithi, the gentle driver, holding my hand and crying. He said, "Amara, you can't go yet. You still have a lot to do." And it was that statement that made my heart, or my soul, vibrate. Because even though I used to live with a heart full of reason, I never really stopped to ask, what have I left to do? What do I live for? When you stand outside and look at your own life, everything becomes clearer. The moments you've missed, the things you've been putting off, and the dreams you thought you'd put aside for later, all appear like a slow-motion movie. I saw myself at age 11 running barefoot through a field for the first time after the rain, raising my hand to catch a drop of water from the sky and silently saying, "I want to heal." But over the years, that dream gets wrapped up in pressure, achievements, and recognition. I had forgotten that feeling, the feeling of living for something pure. And then light appeared. Not dazzling, not brilliant, but gentle like a whispered invitation. That gate was unlike anything I had ever seen. It has no discernible shape, just a spreading blur, as if it knows exactly when you're ready to step through. And I, as if led by something very familiar, walked in without any fear. I don't know how to describe that place, because it's not a place. It is a feeling. It's as if you're being embraced from the inside. It's as if every crack in your heart is filled with unconditional tenderness. There is no noise, no time, no must or should, just presence, pure and full of love. I stood in the middle of a soft light when I saw them. Women. They stood in a circle, wearing clothes I had only seen in fragmentary dreams, long dresses of rough linen, hand-embroidered scarves on their heads, necklaces of wood and stone around their necks. Their faces were not visible, but their eyes were unmistakable. They were the eyes of mothers who had sacrificed themselves, the eyes of those who have gone through fire, war, darkness, and still kept the light inside them. They didn't say anything, but I understood them. Just like how a child understands a mother's love without words. They raised their hands, their sunburnt, calloused hands, and began to sing. Not a song like we often hear on the radio. It's an ancient tune, perhaps passed down through many generations, from a time when the world didn't know metal or cities. When the singing sounded, I felt like I was being pulled back to a very deep, very distant memory in my own blood. I saw images emerge, fragments of ancient African memories, priestesses delivering babies on the banks of the Nile, women placing their hands on Mother Earth to heal, warriors protecting the souls of children with prayers of ash and water. For the first time in my life, I didn't see myself as a doctor. I see myself as a keeper of memories, an old ceramic vase containing forgotten light. I heard a voice, not loud, but full of weight. That voice did not come from outside, but seemed to resonate right in my heart. "You have been chosen." I turned around, and there, in the light, was him. I don't know who or what religion you believe in, but for me, at that moment, I knew clearly. It was Jesus, not the image in the painting, no bright aura, but a man with deep eyes, looking at me as if he had known me since before I was born. He doesn't blame me for forgetting. Don't condemn me for being engrossed in modern life. He just looked, and I understood. We do not speak with words, but with silence containing thousands of years. I saw the pain of women who were forced to forget who they were. I see the light that was once buried under the dust of war, of fear, of fake progress. And I knew the journey I was about to embark on was no longer about career, fame, or success. It's about work, recalls the light that we, women, once carried in our blood. If you have ever felt like you were different, ever had a feeling that cannot be named, that you were born not just to get by, then maybe you are also a part of that memory. Maybe you too carry a light within you that the world has forgotten. And I tell this story, not to be believed, but so that you, if one day you fall into darkness, know that light is always waiting for you to return. I'm not sure I can fully describe what happened in that moment, because really, no words are enough to contain it. When I stand before him, Jesus, I don't see a distant symbol like in books. I saw someone who understood me to the core, even the things I never dared to admit to myself. He does not look at me with the eyes of a supreme being, but with the eyes of someone who has gone through pain, seen humanity lose its way, and still chose to love them to the end. He spoke to me in a deep voice, not at all majestic, but like the voice of a brother, a father, or a friend who has been waiting for us for too long in a forgotten dream. "Do you remember, Amara? Before you even chose to be a doctor, before you could even write or speak, your soul was part of a sacred mission." I looked up at him, surprised. "What mission?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he raised his hand, and a dim light opened before my eyes, like a curtain slowly opening. In that light, I see images passing by like a river of memories. Not just my memories, but the memories of an entire continent. I see African women in ancient times. They don't live in modern houses, don't have phones, don't have hospitals, but they have a light in them that I've never seen anywhere else. They deliver babies with their hands, but with their hearts. They touch other people's bodies and feel every pain and every trauma from the root. They don't learn from school, but they learn from the soil, from the water, from the wind, from Mother Nature herself. There was a young woman, I didn't know her name, but I felt her soul touching me. She sat next to a little girl with a high fever, no medicine, nothing but a crushed leaf and a few strange whispers. She not only cured the fever, but also soothed the baby's soul with a lullaby that I felt like I had heard in my mother's womb. She doesn't need recognition. She doesn't need honor. She just does it as part of life. Then I saw another group of women. They were dressed in white, holding wooden sticks, walking around a village that was plagued by a strange disease. They sang, they burned herbs, they laid hands on each child. They didn't use physical force. They used something I couldn't name, only that it caused the whole atmosphere to change. Life returns, evil retreats, and light, once again, spread throughout the village. "That's them," he said, his voice slow as if telling a very long, very sad story. "Priestesses, guardians of souls, keepers of ancient knowledge. They were a light in humanity's longest night." I felt my chest tighten. It was as if every cell in me was waking up from a deep sleep. I have never heard of those women in history books, nor have I seen them in hospitals or on television, but I recognized them in some inexplicable way, as if I were belongs to them, and they never left me. But that light, he said, has been obscured. I see the converted image. No more fields, no more lullabies. I see war. I see colonists. I saw women with their hands tied, separated from the land, from knowledge, from their own healing power. The books were burned. People are called witches just because they listen to the voice of nature. I see African women, generation after generation, being taught that they are weak, that they are not worthy, that they are just rear guards, only allowed to exist in silence and submission. And I burst into tears because I realized I am also part of that forgetting. I also used to think I had to prove something, study well, do a lot, to be recognized. I also forgot the part inside me, the part that knows how to feel, knows how to listen, knows how to heal without needing a blood test or an ultrasound. The part that was once the soul of the first woman to hold the hand of a creature born in a cave with only pure love. But the light, he said gently, never really disappears. It just waits to be called again. He put his hand on my shoulder, warm, gentle. It was as if I had just touched the most sacred thing. He said, "Life is entering a period of chaos. A flood will come, not by water, but by fear, by disorientation, by the rupture between people and people, people and land. In that flood, there will be souls who remember the ancient light. They are women, like you, with a mission to recall forgotten memories. You were not chosen because you're good, but because your soul was once a part of that light." I was silent. Don't dare say anything, because something deep inside me is melting. A part of me is dying, the part that always tries to be right, the part that is always afraid of being wrong, afraid of being misunderstood, afraid of not being loved. And another part, gentler, more primitive, is emerging, like a seed bursting after the first rain. I looked again at the women around me, my ancestors. They nodded, no urging, no orders. There was only silent recognition. "We have been waiting for you." He said one more thing, something I will never forget. "You will be misunderstood. You will be opposed. There will be times when you will think you are alone. But remember, light does not need a crowd. It just needs to be held, and it will spread on its own." I held his hand one last time, not to hold back, but to thank, for not forgetting me in the biggest forgetfulness of my life. And then I saw the light dim. Everything turns around. A voice rang out from afar. "She's got her rhythm back." Her heart's beating again. I was pulled back, into a painful body, into a narrow world. But inside me, a door has opened, and nothing can close it again. And I promise myself that I will not live like before. I will live like a light. No one needs to see it. Just warm enough to rekindle in someone a dormant memory. Because light is the only thing that cannot be stolen. When I opened my eyes, the hospital ceiling appeared blurred between white lights and blurred streaks of tears. Everything hurt, as if every fiber in my body was screaming because I was awakened from a deep sleep. But the strangest thing wasn't the pain, it's the feeling. I'm not the same Amara anymore. The doctor surrounded me, and my family burst into tears of joy. People said I was clinically dead for nearly 8 minutes. Then suddenly, my heart started beating again. No one can explain. I looked at them, infinitely grateful. But in my heart, there was something bigger. It was as if I had just returned from a faraway place, a place that had truly changed me. The first day I learned to walk again, My body was so weak that just lifting my arms made me sweat. But inside me, there is something stronger than ever. A will, a calling. I can't go back to being a doctor like before. It's not because I no longer love that job, but because I know there's something else waiting for me, a more sacred mission. You know, there are moments in life that make you face the question, what do I really live for? To me, the answer was very clear after that experience. I don't just want to heal my body. I want to awaken souls, especially the souls of women who have forgotten how strong and sacred they are. I start small, noiseless, not by lectures or research, but simple meetings with a few women in my community. We sat in a circle, drank herbal tea, told each other about pain, about fears, about hidden dreams. Then I shared with them about light, not religious or philosophical light, but real light. The light I saw when I met my ancestors. I told them about the priestesses who once lived among us, about those who healed with just a touch and a lullaby. I told them that within every woman there is a sacred memory area, a place that stores the memories of previous generations. And when we listen deeply enough, we can call it back. At first, many people hesitated. Someone cried. Someone smiled faintly. Some people say I'm superstitious. But I don't blame them. Because I myself, once a woman who always believed in science, used to wear a white blouse with unshakable faith, also did not remember that light. I understand, to believe in something that has been buried for so long takes courage. But then, little by little, the magic started to happen. One woman who suffered from postpartum depression said she dreamed of her mother, who had passed away when she was a child, standing next to her bed and whispering, "I'm back." A young girl who had low self-esteem because of past abuse said that after a meditation session with me, she saw an image of herself standing in the middle of a circle of women dressed in white, feeling protected for the first time in many years. The broken pieces within them begin to reconnect, not with drugs, not with therapy, but with the recognition that I deserve to remember who I am. I write books, not a book of instruction or doctrine. They are vivid memories I have seen, images, stories about light, about origins. I tell about the coming flood of souls, about why we need to stand up. And the strange thing is, those books did not only reach African women, but spread to other communities, where women were also deprived of their voice and were forced to forget the sacredness of their blood. I do ceremonies, not in a grand ceremonial way, but just small circles where women light candles, tell each other about their grandmothers, mothers, childhood dreams, and even sadnesses that no one has ever heard of. Each time it ended, I saw something flash in their eyes, a new life, a rekindled fire. Of course, not everyone is in favor. There are pastors who oppose me. A journalist wrote a disparaging article calling me a mystic. One time, I was interrupted in the middle of a talk on television because I mentioned ancestral spirits. Sometimes I sit alone in the middle of the night, my hands shaking from exhaustion, my heart feeling like it wants to give up. But then I remembered his words. Light does not need a crowd, just need to be held steady, and it will spread on its own. Now, when passing through a market, I hear someone calling my name and saying, "Sister, I remember. I don't feel small anymore." When I received a message from a Kenyan girl living in England that she had organized the first healing circle for the African community in London. When I saw the children, their mothers told me about the priestess as if they were talking about a fairy. I know. I am no longer alone. The world is starting to vibrate. Events occur. New epidemics, political chaos, people increasingly alienated from themselves. But in the middle of that dark night, I saw them. The women who once sat quietly listening to me. now standing up, carrying that light farther than I ever thought. They heal, they guide, they lit lamps. You see, I'm just one of them, a small candle. But when those candles are lit together, the darkness must also retreat. And if you, the person reading these lines, have ever felt a silent call in your heart that you came here not just to survive, then please believe the light within you is real and you were born to remember. Sometimes we don't need to do anything big. Just dare to live truthfully. Dare to listen. Dare to believe that you are valuable, not because of what you do, but because I am part of a sacred memory that is returning. I once died to know how I need to live. As for you, you don't have to wait until then. You just need to start right from this moment.